Okay, you can operate the camera after I finish setting up. Okay, got it. Hare Krishna. Okay, it looks like everything's working. Radha Golokananda, not Gokulananda. Just so you all know. Okay, I think we're ready to go. Let's get the guitar. Big turnout. All right. So today is the appearance day, the glorious appearance day of Srimati Radharani, and we're going to speak about her. But let me just do a few things here to straighten things out online. And also you can show the deities sometime during the class too when I talk about Radharani. Yeah, that's the same camera. The deity camera goes on me. So you can just like switch back and forth. I mean, you can zoom back and forth because it's nice to see Radharani during Radharani's appearance day. It's not so nice to see me on Radharani's appearance day. Let's see. Actually, Radharani's appearance day is more important than Janmashtami. Because if you want to get Krishna's mercy, it's very difficult. But if you want to get Krishna's mercy by pleasing Radharani, it's very, very easy. So, let me just, wasn't expecting to give in the temple room, so it just takes a second to set it up. Just want to tune this thing. I was expecting a massive crowd for Radharani. But I guess all the demigods are here. That doesn't mean everybody in this room is a demigod. Pretty good. Okay, so first we're going to chant Radhika Stava, which is the prayer that everybody knows in relationship to Srimati Radharani. I have a copy here. Yeah, here's a copy. Okay, you're all invited to chant responsibly if you can. Oh, forget my bandage. Anyway. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Gokula Tarune Mandala Mahite Gokula Tarune Mandala Mahite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jayate Gokula Tarune Mandala Mahite. Gokula Tarune Mandala Mahite. Gokula Tarune Mandala Mahite. Gokula Tarune Mandala Mahite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Hite. 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 Damodaru Rate Vardhana Veshe Hari Niskuta Vrina Vipineshe. 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 Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Hite. 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 Vrishabhanudhare Navashasi Leke Lalita Saka Guni Ramata Vishake. Vrishabhanudhare Navashasi Leke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake. Vrishabhanudhare Navasasheleke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake. Vrishabhanudhare Navasasheleke Lalita Saki Guna Ramita Vishake. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Hite. 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 Karunam Kurumai Karuna Bharate Sanaka Sanatana Varnita Charite. 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 Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Hite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Hite. Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jaya Gokula Tarune Mandala Mahite Gokula Tarune Mandala Mahite Gokula Tarune Mandala Mahite Gokula Tarune Mandala Mahite Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Jaya 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 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Lokenanuragade Lokenanuragade Jaya Radha Lokenanuragade Lokenanuragade Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe 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 Jaya Radhe 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 Jaya Radhe 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 Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad. Paramahansa Paravidakacharya, all Siddhata Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Chantananda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Mara Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasudhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopikapatnath Shai Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuram Ki Jai. Jagadath Swami Ki Jai. Yumunamai Ki Jai. Shrimati Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrindi Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Gaur Premananda. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya. Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschatcha Dejatarni. So, Omagana Timidanda Shah Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Miditam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namaha. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So first I am going to read the translation of this nice poem written by Srila Rupa Goswami that we just sang. It's called Shri Radhika Stava. O Radha, all glories unto you, beloved of Madhava. Object of worship for all the young girls of Gokula, you dress yourself in such a way as to increase Lord Damodar's love and attachment for you. You are the controller of Vrindavan, the pleasure groves of Lord Hari. You are a new moon arisen from the ocean of King Vrishabhanu. You are the friend of Lalita, and your wonderful qualities, friendliness, kindness, and faithfulness to Krishna, endear you to Vishaka. You are an ocean of compassion, and your divine characteristics are described by the four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar. O Radha, please be merciful to me. So today we are celebrating the glorious appearance day of Srimati Radharani, the feminine counterpart of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Actually, in the Krishna consciousness philosophy, we understand that the Supreme Absolute Truth is not simply male. This is very popular now in this modern world. We're actually quite a popular movement, or at least our philosophy is very popular if we make it known to everybody. Because in this modern world, people are very much into ladies having equal rights. But in the case of Srimati Radharani, she controls Krishna. Not only a question of equal rights, she is called Madan Mohan Mohini. Krishna is the most powerful. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. He's the supreme controller, the most powerful. And that's what we call in philosophical language ontology. That means that's his position. But someone who can control the most powerful is actually more powerful than the most powerful. So Krishna is called Madan Mohan. Madan Mohan actually means he who can attract Cupid, or he who can attract people from Cupid's grasp. Because we are all in Cupid's grasp right now, and we are trying to enjoy the external energy of the Lord, which is avidya karma, which is ignorant activities, ignorance, which is dull matter. But we are spirit. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Shetrak Yakya Tata Para. Avidya Karma Sanganya Tritira Shakti Irshite. So we are trying to enjoy something of a different nature than ourselves. The example Prabhupada would often give is a fish trying to enjoy outside of the water. You know, that would be amazing. You give a fish whatever you can give a fish, but if you don't give him water, he's finished. So that's us. You can give him the illusion of water. Let's say you have a fish, and you give him a video. He gets a mobile phone or something like that. Or a video of water, and he thinks, I'm happy. But then he still suffocates. And that's our position in this world, because we are meant to enjoy spirit. Same thing as Krishna. We are part and parcel of Krishna. Mamivansa jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Krishna only enjoys spirit. It's not that Krishna enjoys this dull matter. So we are of the same nature as Krishna. So we can only enjoy spirit. However, there's a difference between our nature and Krishna's nature, in addition to the point that Krishna is unlimited and we are finite. Krishna is infinite. Some music. And we are finite. There's a difference between that, besides that point. What is the difference? That Krishna is Purusha, and we are Prakriti. Also, Radharani is Prakriti. But she is the internal potency of the Lord, the Ladini aspect of the internal potency. Let me explain what that means. Ladini means the enjoyment. In other words, she is meant to give Krishna enjoyment. Her whole identity is based on giving Krishna enjoyment. And therefore, she enjoys, because that's her nature. But the interesting thing is, we have a similar nature. Of course, we're not Radharani. You know, obviously we can't compare ourselves. But our nature is also that you only enjoy when you're giving the Purusha enjoyment. And when the Prakriti thinks he or she is the Purusha, you got problems, buddy. And that's our problem here. Ishwaroham aham bhogi siroham balavan sukhi. We are thinking, I am the controller. What can you control? Can you make yourself young? Can you stop death? Can you control even what's going on inside your stomach? Or your heart? Or your eyes? I mean, just like many years ago, I was having some clouding of my lenses in the eye, and I thought, if I just meditate, I can uncloud them. Didn't work. I thought, I won't need cataract surgery, but it didn't work. I wasn't the controller. In spite of what everybody would like to think, just like in the Western world or wherever, there's this whole philosophy called the secret. That if you want something enough, you'll get it. Well, it doesn't work like that. I mean, if you have good karma, you can get it, but then after a while you lose it. But Krishna, he gets whatever he wants, whenever he wants, without even asking anyone for it. And therefore, that's the position of Srimati Radharani, the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And she enjoys more than Krishna. That's amazing, isn't it? Here's Krishna, the supreme enjoyer, the boss. You think, if you're the boss, you should be able to enjoy more than anyone else, right? It's not like that. She enjoys more than Krishna because serving Krishna is more enjoyable than being Krishna. Because serving Krishna, Hare Krishna, serving Krishna, you get to taste the bhakti ras. So therefore, Krishna, he wants to enjoy too. He becomes not only curious, but enthusiastic to enjoy like Srimati Radharani is enjoying. And therefore he appears as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Because she is enjoying so much. Of course, there's other esoteric reasons why Lord Chaitanya appeared. Of course, the exoteric reason is that he appeared to propagate the Sankirtan movement, but the esoteric reasons that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared is he wanted to understand the love that Srimati Radharani had for him, or has for him, sorry. Don't want to use the past tense. He wants to enjoy from her perspective, and he wants to see himself from her perspective. Jagapurush, Hare Krishna. Great devotee. So why don't you get a seat for Jagat Purush? Gopal, get Jagat Purush a seat. So you see that even Krishna is hankering for the position of Srimati Radharani. What does that teach us? Of course, we cannot take that position. We can actually serve under the jurisdiction of Srimati Radharani. That's why the residents of Vrindavan, they're always chanting what? Radhe, Radhe. Now, the word Radhe is the word or name of Radharani in the vocative sense. Vocative means crying out. In English, you don't really have a vocative sense. If we want to cry out for someone, we'll say, oh, or hey, just like Gopal sitting there. There's not a vocative in English, so I can't just say Gopi, or Gopi Lee, or something like that to cry out for Gopal. I have to say, hey, Gopal, or oh, Gopal. Of course, I can also do that with a tone of voice, too. But in Sanskrit, you have this vocative. And the vocative, you're crying out, Radhe. Radhe, Radhe. And you cry out for Radhe because she is more compassionate than Krishna. That's why the devotees in Vrindavan cry out Radharani's name. Because she is more compassionate than Krishna. Krishna is compassionate to a certain extent. He's asking everyone to surrender, and that's it. That's a prerequisite. But Radharani is not like that. How do we know that? Because when Krishna takes the mood of Radharani, that dinahina yata chilo harina mudurilo. It doesn't matter whether you're elevated or lowly or whatever. If you simply chant Hare Krishna, you go back to Godhead. It's amazing. And of course, the evidence given by Narottama Das Thakur is Tara Sakshi Jagai Madai. The evidence is Jagai and Madai, these two drunkards and, dacoits, gundas, whatever you may call them, were freed. Now, Krishna, when he appeared, yes, he freed people, but he uses Sudarshan Chakra. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he almost uses Sudarshan Chakra and Jagai and Madai, but he didn't. By the influence of Lord Nityananda, he manifested his compassionate nature and turned them into great devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is Radharani. That's why we chant Radharani's name. And in fact, the Maha Mantra starts with Radharani's in the vocative again. Hare. It's not Hari Krishna, it's Hare Krishna, which means, oh, Radharani, oh, Ladini Shakti, Adi Shakti. Shakti means energy. Of course, Krishna is Shakti Mam, the possessor of the energy. So we are crying out, oh, Srimati Radharani and Krishna, too, that's also vocative. Engage me in Krishna's service. And the Acharyas also describe that when we say Ram in the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one meaning in addition to Balaram and Lord Ramchandra is Radharaman. So Radharani is there in the Mahamantra. We are crying out for her in the Mahamantra. So, anyway, so being the internal potency, the Adi Shakti, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, she's completely devoted to Krishna. And Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. And she has many expansions that are completely devoted to Krishna. Such as what? The other principal gopis in Vrindavan. And then after that, you have the wives of Krishna. The wives of Krishna in Dwarka. And then you have the Lakshmis. So Krishna has unlimited Lakshmis. And I'm going to read one verse that I wrote down here from the Brahma Samhita. 5th chapter, text 37. Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pradivabhitabi Ya Eva Nija Rupataya Kalabi Goloka Nivashati Akilatma Bhuto Govindam Adipurasham Tamaham Bhajami. And the verse states, I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, residing in his own realm Goloka with Radha, resembling his own spiritual figure, the embodiment of the ecstatic potency. That's the Ladini Shakti. Possessed of the 64 artistic qualities. You could read about that in the Nectar of Devotion. In the company of her confidants, that is the Sakis, her friends, the principal gopis, embodiments of the extensions of her body, permeated and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual rasa. So Krishna is known as Rasa Raj. And so the gopis and Radharani and the pure devotees of the Lord and the Lakshmis, they're all helping Krishna taste ras. That's their whole be-all and end-all, to have Krishna enjoy. And so one may think, well, tell us more about Radharani. Tell more stories about Radharani. Well, it was interesting, in preparation for this class, I read all of Prabhupada's lectures on Srimati Radharani, and he didn't get into all the intimate stories. So I'm going to follow in Prabhupada's mood, because this is a very elevated subject matter. Prabhupada said in one of his classes on Srimati Radharani's appearance day that to really understand and worship directly Srimati Radharani and Krishna, Radha and Krishna, in their mood in Vrindavan, one has to be a pure devotee. So how do we approach them? Of course, we have Radha and Krishna on the altar. And we're chanting, before class I chanted, Radhe Jaya Jaya Madhava Daita. What am I doing? Am I disobeying Prabhupada's instructions? No, because Prabhupada said we approach Radha and Krishna while we still have anarthas in utilizing the process of Vaidhi. Everybody knows what Vaidhi means? Vaidhi means rules and regulations. I mean, we'd all like to hear stories about Radha and Krishna, Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari, as Prabhupada chanted every day before he gave class. Radha and Madhava, they're enjoying in the bushes of Vrindavan. But these pastimes are so elevated that I hesitate to talk about them. Not only hesitate, I'm not going to. But I will tell some pastimes. But I hesitate to talk about them because they are so elevated. And so Prabhupada said, we approach them in the mood of Radha and Krishna, in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan. What does that mean? That doesn't mean that Radha and Krishna are not Radha and Krishna. Of course, Lakshmi and Narayan are expansions of Radha and Krishna, and so are Sita and Ram, because there's one God, Advaita Chuta, Nadir Ananta Rupam Adyam Purana Purasham Navayovanam Cha. Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhakto Govindamadi Purasham Tamaham Bhajami. There's one God, and he manifests himself in a variety of ways. So there's the Adi Shakti of the Lord, and she expands in a variety of ways, as I mentioned before, as the goddess of fortune, and even the indirect expansion, Durga, in this material world. So to worship Radha and Krishna in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan means to worship them in the mood of awe and reverence, right? You know, if we think that we have become intimate associates of Radha and Krishna, while we're still in the stage of dealing with our impurities, it's very dangerous. Prabhupada said, then you may not get purified, you may get putrefied. So one has to be very, very careful. So in the mood of Lakshmi Narayan means we're worshiping Radha and Krishna, but we never forget who Radharani is, and we never forget who Krishna is. We remember the philosophy. That's why Prabhupada spoke so much about philosophy. If you read the Krishna book, or if you read the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, and you read the commentaries of the Acharyas, you're always reminded about the tattvas. That means who Radharani is, who Krishna is. And in this way, if you read regularly, you'll never take things cheaply. And you worship them in the right mood. And so that's the right mood. The right mood, and I'm going to talk about the Goswamis' mood, what they showed us in their own activities. The right mood is awe and reverence. Yes, we understand their intimate pastimes, but there's awe and reverence. Like you wouldn't go up to the deities and give the deities a hug. I hope not. I hope not. I mean, that would be a little dangerous. So, what is the mood that the Goswamis of Vrindavan taught us? Of course, the first point I want to make, and I'm going to quote here from the Goswami Ashtaka, it's the mood of separation, the mood of intense hankering to actually achieve spiritual perfection. And here's this wonderful verse from the Goswami Ashtaka. Hey Radhe Brajadevake, hey Lalite, hey Nanda Suno Kuta, Shri Govardhan Kapa Parapa Tale Kalindi Vane Kuta, Goshantavi Sarvato Brajapure Kedar Mahavivalo, Mande Rupa Sanatano Raguyago, Shri Jiva Gopala Ko. I offer my respectful obeisances to the 6 Goswamis, namely Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Raghunath Das Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, and Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who were chanting very loudly everywhere in Vrindavan, shouting, Queen of Vrindavan, Radharani, O Lalito, son of Nanda Maharaj, where are you all now? Are you just on the hill of Govardhan, or are you under the trees on the bank of the Yamuna? Where are you now? And that's the mood of Vipralamba, intense separation. And in that mood, I'm going to tell 1 or 2 stories that illustrate their mood of servitude towards Radha and Krishna. So, 2 stories actually. Once upon a time, Srila Rupa Goswami, who was the younger brother of Sanatana Goswami, wanted to prepare some nice kheer for his brother, like condensed rice, milk, like that. But he didn't have any ingredients. So he was thinking, I want to do this for my brother. Wanted to serve a Vaishnava, his brother, who was his Siksha Guru. And so as he was thinking like that, this very nice young girl came to him and gave him the ingredients. And he said, of course he said, thank you very much. She said, Swamiji, here's something you can use to prepare your offerings. So he prepared this kheer and offered it to the deities, obviously. Then his brother Sanatana Goswami came. His brother Sanatana Goswami came, and he offered his brother this kheer. And his brother took the kheer, and he said, wow, I've never tasted kheer like this before. Wow, this is something different. This is something special. Where did you get the ingredients? And Rupa Goswami said, well, this little girl came, and she gave me the ingredients. And Sanatana Goswami said, can you tell me what she looked like? And Rupa Goswami began to explain the different features of Srimati Radharani. Of course, this is all Yogamaya, because obviously, ordinarily, he would recognize Srimati Radharani. So he began to tell him the different features he observed in the girl. And Sanatana Goswami got really angry. He chastised him. He said, you should understand, you have committed an offense. You've taken service from Srimati Radharani, and we are meant to serve Srimati Radharani. So, of course, this is a pastime or an exchange. Another story, which I'll tell in this regard, is about the great devotee Raghunath Das Goswami. Raghunath Das Goswami used to meditate and chant on the banks of the Shamakund in this place called the Manasa Pavana Ghat. And if any of you have been to Govardhan or Vrindavan during the summer, you know how hot it is. It's centigrade. Phew, it's very hot. I can't even tell. It's 45 degrees or something like that. Yeah. It is so incredibly hot. Fahrenheit sometimes over 120. If you go out during the day, it's like going into an oven, a blast furnace. I know, I've been there during the summer. I didn't go out during the day. I didn't go out after 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning. But Raghunath Das Goswami was doing his bhajan. And he didn't have a bhajan kutir. A bhajan kutir is a place where great devotees reside, where they just chant. Very small place. It's not like a mansion with a swimming pool and everything like that. Bhajan kutir means like very small, just big enough basically for your body, a little bit bigger than that. Maybe you could stretch a little bit, made of concrete or something like that, sand or whatever. But there's a roof over it. So he was chanting outside, and it was hot. And then Krishna was seen by Sanatana Goswami Radharani was seen by Sanatana Goswami holding her shawl over Raghunath Das Goswami's head. And Sanatana Goswami, he got very angry. He chastised. He said, you're not supposed to take service from Srimati Radharani. You're supposed to be a servant of Srimati Radharani who is serving Krishna. Gopi Bharta Padakamala Dasa Dasa Das Anudasa. A servant of a servant of a servant of the Lord who maintains the gopis of Vrindavan. And of course there was a similar incident with Krishna when Krishna was protecting Raghunath Das Goswami from the tigers using a stick. And Sanatana Goswami chastised him for that also. And eventually Raghunath Das Goswami, who was very reluctant to do anything for his own bodily maintenance or protection, he actually arranged for the building of a bhajan kutir. But otherwise, he would have just stayed out there in the sun, unprotected from the tigers, etc., like that. But he didn't want to take service from Srimati Radharani. So this is really important. We are servants of a servant. Now, of course, you may say, oh, I just want to serve Srimati Radharani. No, you serve the servants of a servant of a servant of Srimati Radharani. The more removed you are in terms of serving the servant of a servant, the more humble you are, like Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prays, Trinadapi Sunichena Torari Vasihishana, Amanina Manadena, Kirtaniya Sadahare. One should be more tolerant than the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, ready to offer all respects to others. The more you can actually please Srimati Radharani. And Srimati Radharani is very concerned with all the fallen souls. So by bringing people to Krishna and pleasing Krishna, Srimati Radharani is very pleased. There's this story in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita where this coward boy, Gopakumar, actually Sarupa at that particular point, was called aside by Srimati Radharani, and he was told, you go down there and preach. Down there means here. We may think we're in America, the land of the free, the home of the brave, and whatever else there is. But down means here. Maybe it's not a geographical designation, but it's down. So you go there and preach. And so Srimati Radharani, she employed her servant, the coward boy, to go and preach on this earth planet. So we can learn from this. So sometimes people ask the question, all right, you're talking so much about Srimati Radharani, why don't you find her name in the Srimad Bhagavatam? If she's so prominent, I mean, you'll find so many names of the different coward boys. You'll find the names, of course, Krishna's there. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the names of Krishna's expansions, avatars, Kurma, Matsya, Varaha. There's actually major portions of the Bhagavatam describing different avatars of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So where is Srimati Radharani? That's an interesting question, a very good question. The answer to that question is that the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami, of course there were many speakers, but the speaker of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami, could not say her name because he is a great devotee of Srimati Radharani. Some of the acharyas described that previously he was Srimati Radharani's parrot. A name for parrot, of course, is Shuka. And of course, the word Shuka is also used in reference to a parrot who touches something, a piece of fruit, and makes that fruit more tasty. Helps the fruit ripen. Sometimes it's required to soften up some fruit to have it ripen. You know, hard fruit, unripe fruit is not so tasty. So Shukadeva Goswami does that with the Srimad Bhagavatam. That's another reason why he is called Shukadev. But in any case, he's a great devotee of Srimati Radharani. And being a great devotee of Srimati Radharani, he couldn't say her name. Now here I am saying Radharani's name again and again and again. And you don't see me, what? Fainting. You don't see me rolling on the ground. There's no tears in my eyes. So when that happens, you know you're a great devotee. Gauranga Balite Havi Pulaka Sharir. It's described by Narottama Das Thakur. When one hears the name of Gauranga or Lord Chaitanya and Srimati Radharani and Krishna, then that becomes a vibhav, a stimulation for emotion. And then tears come from your eyes and the hair stands on end. You don't see that with me. I'm saying Radharani again and again and again. And I'm very calm and collected. You also see that the same thing with Prabhupada. Prabhupada would just stayed away from that subject matter in his speeches and his writings. Why? Because of his spiritual position. It was very elevated, very personal, very private. understanding that most of the people, 99.99% of the people, weren't qualified to hear about these intimate exchanges between Radha and Krishna. But Prabhupada is on the same level as Shukadeva Goswami. So Shukadeva Goswami, he never mentions Radharani's name, except indirectly. And it comes out in one particular verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, which I'm going to quote right now. This is from the 10th canto, 30th chapter, text 28, a famous verse. And I'll recite it. Anaya rarito nunam bhagavan haririshvaraha yanno vihaya govinda prito yam anayad raha. And the translation is, certainly this particular gopi has perfectly worshipped the all-powerful personality of Godhead Govinda, since he was so pleased with her that he abandoned the rest of us and brought her to a secluded place. And the great Acharya Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that Shukadeva Goswami was trying his best to keep Radharani's name hidden. And also because had he mentioned Srimati Radharani, he would have experienced so much ecstasy, the Srimad Bhagavatam would have taken much longer to complete. And that would have been a problem for the person who was hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, which was Maharaj Parikshit, because he only had 7 days to go before he would die from the bite of the snake bird. So therefore, Shukadeva Goswami was very focused on finishing the Srimad Bhagavatam so it could be completed at that particular time. But still, her name comes out. And here's a statement from Prabhupada. Sometimes the critics of Srimad Bhagavatam find it difficult to find Radharani's name in the book, but the secret is disclosed here in the word by Radhita, by which the name Radha has come. And of course we know the name Radharani is mentioned in many of the Puranas. So it's not that it's an indirect derivation from Shukadeva Goswami's statement. But Shukadeva Goswami himself never directly mentions her just that indirect way because of his great love for Radharani. We can learn something from that. We have to learn some humility. You know, many times, what do they say? Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So we often think of ourselves as more elevated than we actually are. So dealing with this particular subject matter is very delicate, and I became so impressed reading Prabhupada's classes on this particular subject matter that I'm giving a class today in the mood, hopefully in the mood of Srila Prabhupada. So finally, I wanted to talk about, get more into the mood of Srimati Radharani in relationship to Krishna, the mood that we can actually not copy, but follow in the footsteps of. And I'm not talking about conjugal relationship at this particular point. That is not the subject matter. But is the mood of service. Oftentimes people look at the different rasas or relationships, because rasa doesn't mean relationship. It means taste of a relationship. So oftentimes people hear about the different rasas and they think, wow, I'm really attracted to the conjugal relationship. And they may think that they're really attracted to the conjugal relationship because they have some romantic conception that they're projecting from this world onto that realm of the conjugal relationship between Radha and Krishna. Or one may project oneself into the friendship relationship. Just like when I joined the Krishna consciousness movement, after 2 days, I thought I was a coward boy. Why? Because I was sitting there with the brahmacharis in the brahmachari ashram. We're all sakas, friendship relationship. So I came to the conclusion, completely wet behind the ears, new bhakta, who just walked into the Hare Krishna movement, just lost his hair a week before, Didn't lose my hair, cut it off. And I thought, I was like, how? Because I was projecting my conceptions of this world upon the realm of the absolute. That's a great danger. And that's called sahajism. You know, it's not that I was a sahaja, maybe I was, but anyway. But we have to be very, very careful. We keep Radha and Krishna's relationship up there on our heads. So, anyway, getting to the point is that what is the essential aspect of Radha and Krishna's relationship? And that is brought out, the essential aspect by which we can learn something, that is brought out in the Ansha Leela of the Chaitanya Charitamrita by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami and, of course, Srila Prabhupada's wonderful translations of the Ansha Leela. The last chapter of the Ansha Leela deals with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's prayers known as the Shikshashtaka prayers. Now, these Shikshashtaka prayers, and I'm not going to get into the details, but each and every one is related to a particular aspect of advancement in devotional service. You know, different stages, like ado, shraddha, tata, sadhu, sangota, initial faith, association with the devotees, performing the aspects of bhajan. Each and every one of those is connected. But when Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrives in his recitation of the last two of the Shikshashtaka prayers, you find elaborated Radharani's mood of service to the Lord. Because this mood of service, you may say, oh, servitude, that's one of the lower rasas. You know, of course, the first one is Shanta, where you're just like, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, give us this day, kingdom come, whatever. Give us this day our daily bread. So, but then after that comes servitude, dasyaras. And so dasyara means servitude. But the interesting thing is that servitude becomes perfected in the person of Srimati Radharani. Because it's not that as one moves up, to use hate to use that word, moves up the rasas, but as one goes from the Shanta, the Dasha, the Sakya, Vatsalya, to Madhurya, that you leave behind the previous qualities. And especially the quality of servitude is perfected, is enhanced, is absolute when one comes to the conjugal ras and to Srimati Radharani's relationship with Krishna. Just like, Prabhupada gives this example, just like when you have the Panchamahabhuta, you know, earth, water, fire, air, ether, etc. Those are the five gross elements. Each and every element has a particular quality to it, like there's the sound in ether, right? That's the most subtle element. You know, the liquid, the taste, like that. The smell of the earth. So as you get to grosser material elements, you'll say the sound in ether, which is the more subtle of the Panchamahabhuta. As you get to the grosser elements, the earth, you still have the sound, and actually the sound is transmitted by earth. So it's not that you lose the sound or lose the other qualities of the finer or subtler elements when you get to earth. So in the same way, this is a comparison that Prabhupada gives and the Acharyas give. In the same way, when you get to the conjugal relationship, the relationship that Radharani has with Krishna, the quality of servitude is unlimitedly enhanced. And let me read about this. I'll end with this because it's almost time. Wow. And actually, one other thing I wanted to mention, I have it in my notes here, is that Radharani's service to Krishna is so intense. We mentioned that Radharani is known as Madan Mohan Mohini. She controls Krishna. There's one verse I just had to read from the Radha Rasa Ashudanidhi by Prabhupada Saraswati, that that Radharani, with the arrow of her sidelong glance, wounds Braja's prince, that's Krishna. She makes his peacock feather fall from his turban, the flute fall from his hand, and his yellow garments become disarrayed. I mean, this is Radharani's devotion, love, unalloyed service. Okay, so in this mood, I'm going to end class reading some of the verses from the Anshalila that describe this particular mood, which we can learn from. Of course, first there's the next to the last of the Shikshashtaka verses in which Lord Chaitanya is taking the mood of Radharani. Oh, my Lord Govinda, because of separation from you, I'm considering a moment a great millennium. That's actually the direct pronunciation. Yugayitam nivishena chakshusha pravishaitam shunyayitam jagat sarvam. Tears have flowed from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I see the entire universe as void. I'm going to skip ahead right now to the next verse, which shows Radharani's mood of servitude. And of course, the next verse is the last verse of the Shikshashtaka. Let Krishna tightly embrace this maid servant who has fallen at his lotus feet. Let him trample me or break my heart by never being visible to me. He is a debauchee after all and can do whatever he likes, but he is still no one other than my worshipful Lord of my heart. I am a maidservant at the lotus feet of Krishna. He is the embodiment of transcendental happiness and mellows. If he likes, he can embrace me and make me feel oneness with him, or by not giving me his audience, he may corrode my mind and body. In other words, destroy my mind and body. Nevertheless, it is he who is the Lord of my life. Krishna is the Lord of my life in all conditions, whether he shows me affection or kills me by giving me unhappiness. Sometimes Krishna gives up the company of other gopis and becomes controlled, mind and body, by me. Thus he manifests my good fortune and gives others distress by performing loving affairs with me. Or since he is, after all, very cunning, obstinate debauchee, with a propensity to cheat, he takes to the company of other women. He then indulges in loving affairs with them in front of me to give distress to my mind. Nevertheless, he is still the Lord of my life. I do not mind my personal distress. I only wish for the happiness of Krishna, for his happiness is the goal of my life. However, if he feels great happiness in giving me distress, that distress is the best of my happiness. If Krishna, attracted by the beauty of some other woman, wants to enjoy with her, but is unhappy because he cannot get her, I fall down at her feet, catch her hand, and bring her to Krishna to engage for his happiness. Actually, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Prabhupada gives this citation from the Markandeya Purana about Markandeya Rishi, that once upon a time there was a man who had leprosy. He wanted to associate with this girl. The girl obviously didn't want to associate with him, so the man's wife began to serve this particular girl. Then the man and his wife went to see the girl because the girl actually agreed to meet with the man. And the man realized how wonderful and chaste his wife was. And he was walking back home. On the way back home, he touched Markandeya Rishi. And Markandeya Rishi cursed him, "You're going to die before the rising of the sun the next day." And then what happened? His wife said what? "The sun's not going to rise the next day." And she stopped the sun from rising the next day. And so Prabhupada gives this as a sort of an explanation as part of the purport of this particular statement by Srimati Radharani. And you can imagine that. Usually, in any sort of relationship, we want to control someone, we want to feel that they belong to us, right? But Srimati Radharani is simply dedicated to Krishna's pleasure, no matter what. Even if he does things that give her displeasure. This is pure devotion. So this is what we can learn from. This is Srimati Radharani. When a beloved gopi shows symptoms of anger toward Krishna, Krishna is very satisfied. Indeed, he is extremely pleased when chastised by such a gopi. She shows her pride suitably, and Krishna enjoys that attitude. Then she gives up her pride with little endeavor. Why does a woman continue to live who knows that Krishna's heart is unhappy, but who still shows her deep anger toward him? She is interested in her own unhappiness. I condemn such a woman to be struck in the head with a thunderbolt. That's really heavy. In other words, if we're doing something, forget about the woman, man, if we do something that makes Krishna unhappy, Radharani is so dedicated like that. For example, when we are serving the deities on the altar, it is Radharani, we're doing Radharani's service, and if Krishna is not pleased, Radharani becomes displeased with us. Krishna is I'm skipping a few here. Krishna is my life and soul. Krishna is the treasure of my life. Krishna is my very life of my life. I therefore keep him always in my heart and try to please him by rendering service. That is my constant meditation. This is Radharani's mood. My happiness is in the service of Krishna, and Krishna's happiness is in union with me. For this reason, I give my body in charity to the lotus feet of Krishna, who accepts me as his beloved and calls me his most beloved. It is then that I consider myself his maidservant. Service to my lover is the home of happiness and is more sweet than direct union with him. The goddess of fortune is evidence of this, for although she constantly lives in the heart of Narayan, she wants to render service to his lotus feet. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami states, these statements by Srimati Radharani show the symptoms of pure love for Krishna tasted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that ecstatic love, his mind was unsteady. Transformations of transcendental love spread throughout his entire body, and he could not sustain his body and mind. The pure devotional service in Vrindavan is like the golden particles in the river Jambu. In Vrindavan, there is not a trace of personal sense gratification. So this is Radharani's mood. It is to advertise such pure love in this material world that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has written the previous verse and explained its meaning. This is all Srila Prabhupada's translations. So this is what we can learn from Srimati Radharani's service. Unalloyed devotional service, absolute surrender. This is what Sharanagati means. Not simply externally, but Anyabi lashata shunyam, yana karma navartam, anukulyena krishnana shilanam bhaktirutamam, serving Krishna, doing what he wants, and doing it with a happy heart, enthusiastically, to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, thank you very much. All glories to Srimati Radharani, Srimati Radharani's appearance day ki jai. So, now we're having what? Abhishek now or the dance now? I thought the dance was supposed to be now. Yeah, okay. Okay, so there's going to be Abhishek for Srimati Radharani and Krishna. And then after that, we proceed to the hall where there's going to be a dance by our Nugaloka dancers. Okay, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we can have a kirtan for the Abhishek. And
Prabhu Nityananda Shri Vasari Gaur Bhatta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhatta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhatta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radhe, Jai Radhe, Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Jai Krishna, Jaya Krishna, Krishna. Jai Krishna, Jaya Shri Krishna. Jaya Krishna, Jaya Krishna, Krishna. Jai Krishna, Jaya Shri Krishna. Jai Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Jai Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Radhe. Jai Radhe.